Also, as a cyclist, he rode his bike from Phoenix to Ground Zero in 2002 to bring awareness and commemorate the 9/11 catastrophe. Please welcome Ray Madaghiele. Ray.
Thank you both for being rays of hope. And see, each of you here have chosen to be a ray of hope. You're hearing things that you chose to stop, you chose to be here, that are touching your hearts. And so I'm going to share from a slightly different point of view. I'm going to share from a point of view of principle. And so, first of all, if you haven't gotten any of this stuff, you may want to. I know you only have 300 miles to go, but this is actually used on cows' udders, and it's incredible if you have any chafing anywhere. So yeah, I'd pick up some of it if you haven't got any. This one's empty, but make sure you memorize that. Yeah, so I want to share a little bit of why I chose to bicycle across the country after 9/11. And so it wasn't so much to commemorate the tragedy. It was to share a message of hope and healing and have a conversation across the country. What we chose to do, and I say we, so I cycled, and honey, what did you do?
I drove the truck.
She did the hard part. She drove the truck.
Right.
And the message that I wanted to share was some principles that we all could live by. And if we had these principles in our heart, there would not be any terrorism. There would not be any religious persecutions. And so the principles that I shared, what I call 4 focal points. And actually, I have the focal points on bookmarks, if any of you are interested. They're real simple. They're easy to live by. And so the first is to have faith. And here we're talking about the freedom to have faith. And I'm talking from faith from several different points of view. One is to really have and understand that there is definitely a connection to Spirit, to God, whatever we choose to call that energy that's within us. And you two have chosen to express that energy in a huge way to cycle across the country. I don't know where the idea first came, but something tells me it's from something I call a wee small voice within that said to ride. And so that first principle comes in an incredible way to understand that God moves through us. You each were moved to be here, whether it was to speak and to say some words that maybe bring some encouragement, or, you weren't sure exactly why you needed to be here, but you needed to be here to participate, to hear. The other part of faith that I love is I believe, is an innate goodness that's within each of us. And so it may not always appear on the surface. So for those doing the persecutions in Japan, for those that persecuted the Native Americans, it was just in the 70s that Native Americans were able to speak their languages and practice their ceremonies, and that's here in America. And now we're honored with you to be giving us a prayer to start this event that couldn't have happened before the 70s. And so understand that this thing called faith, and Gandhi was able to trigger that in people. So when he was being persecuted in South Africa and in India, trying to bring the freedoms and the equality to his people, he touched a spark of the innate goodness in people around the world. And so that's a thing called faith. The second focal point is living your purpose. And so I believe there's some purpose that both of you have that called you to do this ride. And I had a great chance to talk with Seijin and Josh and to ask them, okay, so what were your insights and all of that? And they said, well, I'm not sure yet. I haven't finished the ride. And the interesting thing that Lynn and I learned, when we finished our ride, ours was 3,369 miles, so you got to keep going. When we finished our ride, people asked us, how long did it take you to recuperate, to recover, and all of that. And the interesting thing was, our answer is, there was no recovery. It became a natural part of getting up, just like brushing your teeth. It was just time to ride another 70 miles the next day. And how do you ride 70 miles? One stroke of the pedals at a time. And so there was definitely something that triggered a purpose in us to do the ride, like there was something that triggered yours. And so each of you, I believe, has what I call a piece of the puzzle for peace. And it's just to listen to that wee small voice within you and ask yourself, what is it that I could do to bring more peace in this day or in this week? So that was the second focal point. The third focal point is to practice good character. To practice good character. And what I love about the Arizona Interfaith Movement is they've made it very simple. And so they practice and they advocate and they teach all about the Golden Rule. And the Golden Rule is real simple, and it's spoken in every religion in the world in different ways. And that's to treat each other the way we want to be treated. And you can look at the flip side, and that's not to harm another. Because we wouldn't want to be harmed. And so that's the third focal point. And the fourth focal point is to serve all with love and compassion. And you too are serving us, causing us to go to a place within ourselves and maybe ask, what can we do? If they can cycle 2,300 miles, surely I can do something. So what is it that you're going to do when you leave here that's going to make a difference? Yesterday we had another incredible event in Tempe. Why didn't you ride faster? You could have made it. So right by Tempe Town Lake, the Sachasai organization sponsored a walk that was very simple. A walk based on human values. It wasn't protesting anything. It was just gathering to say, you know, I'm going to take a stand in my own life and practice some simple values. Values of love, of peace, of truth, of nonviolence, of right conduct. And in essence, we just ask people, just select one. Select one and put that to work in your life and be rays of hope and radiate that out into the world. So Lynn and I chose peace, and so we're playing with a thing called peace. And so I just want to close with a poem that actually came through me, is the best way I can speak it, on September 15th of 2001. And so it bubbled up through me, and I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and these words just flowed onto the page. And I believe they're words that really touch on what each of the speakers have spoken here today. And I call it, It's Time. It's time that we understand our role as stewards of this planet, that we respect and honor the delicate balance of our world. It's time that we realize we are all one people, that separateness is an illusion, and in truth, we're all connected. It's time that we see past the veil of illusion called separateness and understand just how connected we really are, that we're all made from the same substance of the universe, and by harming another, we're only harming ourselves. It's time that we see past the color of one's skin or the name of one's God, that we realize we're merely traveling parallel paths leading up the same mountain. It's time that we stop searching for happiness outside ourselves, that we turn our attention inward and tune into the calm peace of our souls. It's time that if we see something in the world that needs to be changed, that we do as Gandhi suggested and be the change you wish to see. It's time that we take responsibility for making the world a better place, that we strengthen the foundation of our communities by being of good character. It's time that we ask, how can I make a difference? That we leave this world in a little better shape than when we arrived. It's time that we listen to each other with empathy and compassion, that we overcome the fear in our minds so that we can experience the love in our hearts. It's time that we get past ego and discover our innate spiritual essence, that we release our selfish desires and serve humankind unconditionally with love. It's time that we love all, serve all, that we be at peace. It's time. So it's time for you to continue your ride at some point, tomorrow maybe, and it's for each of us, each of you, to choose to be a ray of hope in the world. Thank you. And I have another £1 gift for both of you. And so this one is signed for, this is Seijin, and that's his bookmark. And this is for you, Josh. and I'll let you know you can trade it in for a lighter weight audio book program if you want, and I'll give you those.
Thank you. Thanks for the challenge.